Right now we have a guest on the podcast. His name is Joe, which is short for Joseph. And on Twitter, your name used to be Dwayne Haskins fan account.
Oh,
is it still is it still that?
Tim.
Is it still that?
Y'all got the wrong Joe. No, it is Big Ben stan account. My guy, number 7, GOAT.
Okay, so before we had you on, Joe was telling me a little bit about your history and your feelings towards Big Ben. I am not a historian on you because Drew and Joel, they have been friends with you for the longest. So Joel, tell the audience a little bit about Joe and how he feels about Big Ben and how he currently feels about him now.
Sure. So listen, Big Ben, first of all, had a great career, Hall of Famer, first ballot. These last few years, no doubt he struggled, and Joe has not been shy to talk about how he wants to move on. He thought Dwayne Haskins could possibly be the future of the Steelers. And then the second that comes out, we knew Big Ben was probably going to retire, but the second it comes out that this is going to be Ben's last game at Heinz Field, Joe does a complete 180. All of a sudden, he has been Big Ben's #1 fan since the day he was born. Listen, that's your guy. He's your franchise quarterback. I get it. But it does crack me up a little bit how you went from Dwayne Haskins is the future and how much you've been wanting all these other quarterbacks these last few years to Big Ben's been the best thing the Steelers have ever gotten in their franchise's history.
So let me just start off quickly by saying the shift happened about 2 weeks ago to when I really started to think of Big Ben in a different light. So obviously, yes, Big Ben has only been a shadow of himself since probably, I would say, about halfway through last season. You really started to see the wear and tear of all the injuries, and he's the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. And last year is when we really started to see the physical decline in his performances. I have wanted a successor for Big Ben coming into the season. This year, I was all in on a successor coming in. But once this year, the Steelers' playoff hopes really started to tank and really started to show no real significance behind. The team is not ready to win a championship. Coming into the season, I thought that if Big Ben played at a high performance and sans any injuries or COVID, the Steelers would be able to make a really good run. We have a very good defense, very good defensive line, and a great back end in the secondary in Minkah Fitzpatrick. But the thing is, it started to show early. Big Ben couldn't really push the ball downfield. You thought with a whole offseason he'd be able to do that, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. A new offensive coordinator comes in, and the chemistry really isn't there, and it hasn't clicked. So once we really didn't have much of a shot to win that championship, that's when I really started to shift towards just my appreciation for everything Big Ben has done. Because right now, the season doesn't mean much in terms of winning a championship. And it's all about Big Ben now. Everything he's done in the past 18 years for this franchise is monumental and nothing short of first ballot Hall of Fame. And I think my stance publicly on it really changed from, hammering down on we need a successor, we need to try out Dwayne Haskins, to really just soaking in the moment and just taking it for what it is. And that's where I'm at now.
So if you're listening right now, we have Joe on the show because this is a tribute to Ben Roethlisberger, who played his last game at Heinz Field potentially. And you were at that game and you had some pretty great seats there. I saw your Instagram story. Those seats, I'd have to know how much they cost.
So I want to thank my fellow fantasy league mates, Joel and Drew. Joel especially because I beat him in the semifinals.
For getting me. Shit, bro?
Okay, all right, relax. I'm getting there. I took second in the fantasy championship, which paid out about $500. I paid about $430 for those tickets. As soon as Big Ben made the official announcement on, I believe it was Friday on New Year's Eve, I didn't think twice. I bought the tickets immediately. And would I do it again? I would do it 10 times out of 10, maybe even 11 out of 10. It was a great experience.
How was the moment like just when they were interviewing him and him going around and lapping around the field and just shaking everybody's hand? How was that moment like for you?
So I described it to Drew and Joel as one of the most emotionally saturating games of my life that I've been a part of and anything that I've ever witnessed. For the city of Pittsburgh, this was the Derek Jeter walk-off single. That's exactly what it was. Seeing Big Ben after he went out, and the game was over, he took his last kneel down. He comes back to the bench and he puts up, the hand signal, and the crowd went crazy. It was unreal. You couldn't breathe. People were screaming so loud. And then he begins to do his lap. He gives everybody the high fives down the sideline. And then he starts to walk back to the bench. And now from my seats, I was sitting behind Steelers bench. So I'm watching him come back towards us. And then I saw him turn around and sit down on the bench. And I'm looking at the back of his jersey with his name, and up on the Megatron, you see the camera shot of just him sitting down, hands in his head in his hands. And that was the collective moment. So you went from the crowd being at like 100 to just that heaviness in the air. And everybody started to feel it. And everyone kind of collectively looked around and said, wow, this is really it. And, people started to cry. People got choked up. I got choked up. I mean, I'm 23 years old. I've watched Big Ben since 2012. So it's about half of my life. I've watched this man. Yeah. And it means a lot to these people. This is a blue collar football city and they love that man. So that's when it really started to get, sad and real sentimental for everything he's done for the franchise. And not to mention the shot of him walking down the tunnel with his kids and his wife in both arms, and his son kind of just rests his head up against his leg. This cowboy had some juice left in him, and now he's going to ride off into the sunset the way he should.
Yeah, you sound like you're about to cry right now.
Listen, I might. It was such a powerful, moving moment to just feel a part of something like that for so long. It was incredible.
You know what, man? You mentioned a little bit about how once there was a shift in the season where you knew the Pittsburgh Steelers weren't going to win the championship. And not everyone can go out like 18, Peyton Manning, right into the sunset with a championship.
How annoying is he?
I'm just, listen, bro, it has nothing to do with what I'm saying. I'm just saying not everyone can go out on top. Like my Broncos, John Elway and Peyton Manning, maybe it's just a Denver thing. That being said, I can appreciate the being stern on trying to move your franchise forward. Ultimately, you're a team first kind of guy. And you know what? Fans can respect that, can appreciate that, where you compare it to the Derek Jeter single. Only pushback on that is that Derek Jeter was a 5-time champion, is one of the most beloved sports figures in sports history, period. Big Ben has a little bit of pushback on him, given his allegations, regardless of how you feel on him and his personal matter. Derek Jeter is at a whole nother level. But I'm not going to take anything away from Ben. You're 100% right. Everything he's meant to the city of Pittsburgh, everything he's done for the franchise of the Steelers, you can't discredit anything he's done. 2-time champion, one of the all-time leaders in passing yards, one of the all-time leaders in completion percentage. This guy was the epitome of a franchise guy. You can't do anything but appreciate everything that he's done, at least in between those lines.
I mean, I absolutely agree with you. Derek Jeter across all sports, just talking legend in general, he's a lot. But let's not discredit everything Ben has done, not just for the city of Pittsburgh, but for the sport of football in general. If he gets enshrined into the Hall of Fame, he will be the physically largest quarterback to ever be enshrined in the Hall of Fame. Hence, Big Ben. He is the most sacked quarterback in NFL history, playing at the age of 39, right? So this man is true and true a Pittsburgh Steeler. And he's also the best franchise quarterback we have ever had. No knock to Terry Bradshaw. He won 4 chips, but that defense was nothing short of spectacular. Everything Big Ben did in his career. I saw something earlier today. I forgot who tweeted it, so I unfortunately can't give the credit. But they had mentioned how when Big Ben came in as a young QB and helped support the aging Jerome Bettis win the most important game of his life in the Super Bowl, it then flipped on him very fast because now the Steelers are trying to do everything they can to give Big Ben that one last chip. But unfortunately, we just don't have the roster strength to do it. Now, Derek Jeter was a 5-time champion. Big Ben is a 2-time champion. But the sports of baseball and football are completely